BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Jane Lewis, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast, delivering all the news, views and analysis you need. It's Friday, the 20th of September, and here's what's coming up.
Dundee United is an opponent we are quite capable of beating, I'd like to say. So fingers crossed we can get a really good result, especially on the lights on a Friday night. It's got all the attributes are really, potentially really good game.
Who'll come out on top in the Tony Watt derby as Motherwell take on Dundee United in the first of the League Cup quarter-finals. We'll also take a look at the other last 8 ties this weekend, with Aberdeen and both halves of the Old Firm involved as well.
McCausey, can he finish it? Oh, lovely dink finish! And Rangers have the second, which surely puts them into the last 8.
And there's Premiership action too.
I think you can see that we're vulnerable, we're lacking confidence, and we'll work as hard as we can, but ultimately we need to start changing the run of form, the performances and the results.
Can Hearts relieve the pressure on Steve Naismith in Paisley?
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Well, former Scotland goalkeeper Gemma is with us. So too is Sean Hamilton, the sports editor for the Courier and Evening Telegraph. Plenty to discuss with Sean and Gemma. We'll also hear from Motherwell fan Jenna Thomson. And before all that, let me bring you the latest Scottish football headlines. St Johnstone owner Adam Webb has been treated for cancer of the head and neck. Chief Executive Fran Smith will serve as acting chairman while he takes medical leave. He says he's requested that work on the club's priorities and improvements continue unabated. Dave King has said that the current Rangers board are disconnected from reality. Speaking to a Scottish newspaper, he challenges them to allow fans to decide the next chairman in an EGM, saying the fans know from past experience, I would not tolerate board members who are only in it for the jacket and tie and don't actually want to do any real work. J. Emmanuel Thomas has been sacked from Greenock Morton after he appeared in court charged with the attempted importation of drugs. The 33-year-old striker was arrested at his home in Gourock on Wednesday and taken to Carlisle for questioning. And a Saoirse Noonan-Tattrick helped Celtic move 1 point clear at the top of the Scottish Women's Premier League. The Republic of Ireland striker took only 14 minutes to fire the reigning champions ahead against Montrose. Midfielder Maria McEnany was also among the goals. Well, let's start with Dundee United, their trip to Fir Park and Motherwell this evening in the League Cup. Gemma, two teams who've started the season pretty brightly. They both lost at the weekend, however, going into this one. But how do you see this one going? A tight affair?
Yeah, I think so. As you said, both have had fairly good starts to the season. Dundee United coming back into the Premiership and going really well. Kind of slightly halted against Rangers last week, in Motherwell losing to the steam train that is the Teeling Express up in Pittodrie. But saying that, it took an excellent save to keep it as 2-1 to Aberdeen. So I think they'll both be going into this match looking forward to the semi-finals, thinking they both have a real chance of getting one foot into that semi-final.
Sean, Dundee United, have they exceeded expectations so far in their return to the Premiership, do you think?
I think you could possibly say that. I think Dundee United fans wouldn't necessarily agree with you. I think they probably, with some justification given their historic status, see themselves as, a Premiership team that should be doing what they're doing, basically. So in that respect, some fans would say no, others would say yes. They have done exceptionally well since they've come back up. Absolutely no doubt about it. And to echo what Gemma says, I can't see anything other than a pretty tight game between two teams who've started the season pretty well. You said it was the Tony Watt derby. It could be the Louis Moult derby as well.
Yes, indeed. It could well be. Absolutely. You're right to pick us up on that. Narrow wins for high-flying Aberdeen and Rangers were Motherwell's only defeats in the league so far this season, Gemma. They beat Kilmarnock in the last round. What's been key to their success so far, do you think? Obviously, they've got young players, that the likes of Lennon Miller, who really have been pretty key for Motherwell so far this season.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it's the players like him stepping up and the rest of the squad, because they've not had their injuries to seek, let's just put it that way. So I think what's been particularly impressive about Motherwell is with their injury list, the start of the season that they have had. And I think what would be quite encouraging for Motherwell fans is knowing that they've got a group of players still to come back in to strengthen that squad. So for me, it's probably been more about yes, you've got those one or two star players, the young players coming through and doing extremely well, and the ability to hold on to those young players. But it's also around about that wider squad stepping up to the plate when there has been such a long injury list.
Well, to give us a sense of how the home side are shaping up ahead of this one, let's hear from BBC fan writer Jenna Thomson.
I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. Quarterfinals do always get me quite excited just because there is obviously the chance that we might end up going to Hampden. It's been quite a while since Motherwell's played there because I don't really count the game against Rangers there. That was league business, not League Cup. But all jokes aside, though, it is a really big opportunity for us. Dundee United is an opponent we are quite capable of beating, I'd like to say. So fingers crossed we can get a really good result, especially on the lights on a Friday night. It's got all the attributes of a really, potentially really good game. It has been a bit touch and go our form lately. It's a bit like chalk and cheese. Some games were absolutely phenomenal.
It's through, and it's into the top corner! Motherwell extend their leads! What a moment! They needed it.
In other games, you're watching it going, what on earth is Kettlewell thinking?
Papagayi! Oh, it's a stunning finish!
But again, Dundee United, I think as an opponent, we can easily get the better of. They've had quite a good start as well, quite similar to ours in terms of points and results, things like that. They have played some of the same people we've played recently as well, like Rangers. We both didn't probably expect a result against them. So I think it is someone, and we can definitely take to the full 90 minutes and walk away with a win. To be honest, I was more scared about the Kilmarnock game than I was about playing Dundee United, and look how that went. So even if it's a case of taking it to extra time and penalties, a win is a win in my book. I don't care how we get it, as long as we do it.
Lennon Miller is lining up another free kick. A couple of yards in from the left-hand touchline, right foot, he's going to send it to the back post, and there's a header in! Stephen O'Donnell nods past Craig Gordon, and Motherwell profit from yet another fantastic Miller delivery.
Well, Lennon Miller is one of the absolute backbones of that full squad. Whenever he's not been involved, it's massive differences that you see. Sometimes you are just screaming out for him to get a hat-trick just because he is that good. He dominates that midfield as if it's no one's business. To the point, I actually forget he's only 18 sometimes. You watch him playing and you automatically assume he must be like a minimum 22, 23. And not only that, he looks comfortable there. He looks as if he belongs there, and he has for a long time. He's got a sensible head on his shoulders, and he's got a sensible footballing head as well, which I think contributes to his success so much.
Into the feet of Miller, a lovely turn away from McGregor. Lays it back now. Shot, goal!
Oh, predictions are the hard part. I'm going to say 2-1 in Motherwell. That's a last minute screamer that seals the deal for the Well.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
That's Motherwell supporter and BBC fan writer Jenna Thomson there. Let's move on to the weekend's other quarterfinals, shall we? And we've spoken about how well Aberdeen have done already. We've touched upon that, Gemma. They host Spartans on Saturday evening. It's a brilliant game for Spartans. Great to see them still in the League Cup. But you would think all things would point to an Aberdeen victory?
You would, wouldn't you? 10 in a row flying high. Spartans have got absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, what an occasion for their team and for their fans to go up to Pittodrie to face an Aberdeen team that's playing really well. And you kind of want to face a team that's playing really, really well, because then you've got nothing to fear. There's no expectation. There's no chatter that, oh, they're doing poorly in the league and this could be a stumbling block. It's you're playing a team that's flying high, that's playing really well, and you have to bring everything that you've got. So I'm kind of excited about that one to see what Spartans bring to the game. I think Aberdeen will win. I think the majority of people think Aberdeen will win. But these kinds of games, I think, are always exciting. This is why you love the Cup, because it brings unexpected ties together, and you don't quite know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's a classic cup tie. That one, I think, as you say, is going to be an intriguing one. As for Rangers, the holders, of course, Sean, they're back at Ibrox for the visit of Dundee. I just wonder how key is that, the fact that they're back in Govan on their own patch?
You would have to think it will make some sort of difference for them, certainly. Yeah, I mean, playing at Ibrox, if it's full and if the atmosphere is right, it's a powerful weapon for them. So just purely the fact that they're back there, having been away, it should bring a bit of sparkle to it for the supporters, you would have thought, and they probably will become a factor at that point. Dundee are a side that they've started pretty well also, so it's by no means a situation where Dundee are going there feeling like they don't have hope. I think they absolutely do, and they absolutely should. They've started well, they're scoring goals, like to Simon Murray, for instance, who they've brought in the summer, has been absolutely brilliant. And he's absolutely a potent weapon at this stage of his career. So it's an intriguing one, and I certainly don't think Rangers will have it all their own way.
Yeah, Gemma, it's interesting. Sean says that the Dundee have started well, just the one win in 5 league games. But, Sean's right in terms of, they do have something about them, don't they, this season? And their manager, Tony Docherty, is building something there within that team and that squad, you sense?
Yeah, and I think you picked up on Simon Murray, who's been huge in terms of they were preparing for life without Luke McCowan. With him going, he really was talisman of Dundee. And even though they lost last week to Ross County, their attacking performance was pretty good. They had opportunities. They're still creative, and I think they are. It's what's the words I'm looking for? It's okay for them to have a little bit of a mini reset. It's okay for them to find a little bit of their groove, a bit of time to find their groove of how they readjust their squad to such a impactful player moving on. But I don't necessarily think it will do the damage that people may think it will do. So it will be an interesting one because, yes, Rangers back at Ibrox, but Dundee have been a stumbling block for Rangers, and it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
On Sunday, it's Celtic at home to Falkirk. Obviously, Celtic hit the headlines on Wednesday night with that brilliant performance in the Champions League. You would expect that not to get in the way of the League Cup match, so that their squad is so strong, isn't it, Sean, that it's not going to have any lasting effects on them physically, that one, is it?
You wouldn't have thought so, no. I mean, Gemma mentioned Luke McCowan there, and I think when you look at Celtic being able to go and cherry pick the best players in the Premiership, if you like, from their rivals here, like St McCowan, for instance. I mean, you have to assume it's with half an eye on having a decent squad that can compete on a Sunday after playing in Europe midweek as well. So, yes, they've got the numbers, they've got the bodies, and they're obviously a very, very good side, very well coached, and they're going to be quite a tough nut to crack, I would suggest.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Although another intriguing one, Gemma, Falkirk obviously having a brilliant season as well. Basically kind of picking up from where they left last season, 100% record in the league for them as well so far. And in John McGlynn, he knows his stuff, doesn't he? He's a wildly old manager.
He is, and I was listening to, I think it was Scott Allen talking about how they would approach the game. The expectation you would imagine from the outside is that we go and sit and try and deny Celtic, and Scott Allen was like, having known him, no, they'll go and they'll play football, and that's quite exciting. You've got two teams that are flying high in their respective divisions. I think Celtic, to be honest, are on another planet at this moment in time. From what we saw in Europe, that was just, I thought it was a phenomenal display. Yes, against the poorer opposition, but when you come up against a manager like McGlynn, who's not scared. He's not scared. It's a one-off game. What's riding on it is the semi-final of Cup. That's fine, but the league is not on this. So I think Falkirk, I think John McGlynn, and I think his players will be extremely excited because it's similar to the Aberdeen Spartan one. You want to play a team that's the best of the best. You want to play a team that's playing high, because then you, one, really test yourself, and two, if you manage to sneak a win, which I don't think will, but if you do manage to sneak a win, that's a story, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed. Let's move away from the Cup and on to league business. 2 games in the Premiership this weekend. Ross County hosting St Johnstone. Gemma, you'll have been keeping a keen eye on the news surrounding the club you support. Obviously, they're without a manager following the departure of Craig Levine earlier this week. But, really sad and serious news regarding their new owner, Adam Webb, the fact that he's undergoing treatment for cancer ahead of this one as well. It's sad news. We obviously wish him all the luck and support in the world.
Absolutely. It's cancer of any type affects most people in our lives in some way, shape or form, and it's a terrible disease, and we wish him all the well and hope that his treatment is effective and we see him back around about Christmas time. But as you said, it's after decades of stability in terms of ownership, with Jeff Brown being there. He was always a prudent owner. He famously never wanted St Johnstone to ever go into the red, which was sometimes played out in terms of the investment into the team. We invested what we could invest without being too extravagant. Craig Levine came in last year. Probably wasn't a popular appointment, but did what he was asked to do, which is stay up. And I think he was appointed under Brown. Webb comes in, and there was always going to be a different direction. There was always going to be different ideas. You've got American owners coming in who will have aspirations for a club like St Johnstone. But in terms of the match, it's a huge one. It's a huge one. Ross County were good against Dundee last week. St Johnstone again, another red card. It seems to be a bit of habit. We're trying to take on Kelly in that reign. Then you've got defensive frailties. So, we need to try and stop the rot a little bit if you want. I know it's the beginning of the season, but momentum flows in both directions. So if we can come away from there with a point, I think we'll be happy. And then hopefully in the next we get an appointment that takes the club in the direction that it wants to go.
Well, Hearts are also in action this weekend. Their Richard run continued last time out with a 2-0 defeat at Celtic Park. That's now 7 defeats in a row. No wins this season, just 2 goals scored. The BBC's Andrew Southwick has been taking a look at where it's been going wrong for them ahead of their visit to St Mirren on Saturday.
It's now 5 games without a league win this season, only 2 goals scored.
Week after week we watch the same mistakes from the same players or the same areas of the park and nothing improved.
To be rock bottom already early in the season is not good enough.
7 defeats in a row now for Hearts. What is going wrong for the side that finished third last season? Naismith has tried a range of different lineups and formations. 16 changes have been made to their starting 11 in the league. One major issue is goals. The main source usually comes from Lawrence Shankland, but the Scotland striker has been misfiring.
To Barry Mackay, with a second half sub. Tries on the left, Shankland's there. And he just couldn't get that ball under his control.
He has had more shots at goal than any other player in the Premiership this season. In addition, only one player has had more touches in the opposition box.
We've got players in this group that can create for them, that can really cause trouble in the final third against opposition, but get something going where there's a rhythm to the team. They know where they are, they know what they're doing, there's patterns of play, there's understanding.
Hearts' problems extend beyond Shankland. The Tynecastle side see plenty of the ball, but they aren't doing enough with it. No Hearts player is in the top 20 for successful open play crosses. Well, even when they are in the box, they're not creating enough.
There isn't an identity to the team. There's no real structure in regards to how they want to set up. And I said this before the game, I'd love to hear the manager saying, what is his beliefs in terms of how he wants the team to play? Not generalisations, specific.
St Mirren and Ross County are up next as Hearts seek that elusive first win. After that, October is a testing month. UEFA Conference League games kick in, including a long trek to Azerbaijan. Can Steve Naismith find the identity his side needs and reignite Hearts' season?
The Scottish Football Podcast.
That's Andrew Southwick there, and you can see the video version of that on the BBC Sport Scotland website. Can you see Hearts turning things around, Sean, when they go to Paisley at the weekend?
I kind of feel like we are where we were a year ago with Hearts under Steve Naismith. Under big pressure this time last year, people calling for his head, such like they did manage to turn it around, and quite obviously opinion of Stephen Naismith changed with it, and I feel like we're now back exactly where we were. this time a year ago, it doesn't seem to be much confidence in him amongst the supporters at Tynecastle. I'm going to say they're hard to please. That's maybe a bit harsh, but I think the expectation is certainly a long, long way above where they are at the moment, and rightfully so. I don't know, I've just got a bad vibe about them. Do you know what I mean?
Gemma, what's your vibe in terms of how significant could this match be for Stephen Naismith and his continued future as Hearts manager?
I think it could be very significant. I think that, look, they have stuck by Stephen Naismith, but in terms of the losing streak and in terms of there needs to be some evidence that something is going to change there. There's only so long, I think, that they will persist down this path, because they cannot lose touch with those above them, and they're in real danger of doing so.
And just finally, before we go, Gemma, we need to touch upon Celtic in Women's Champions League second round action in Airdrie. They take on Vorskla Poltava in the first leg. It's a big game for them. How confident are you that they could get through?
It's actually a huge game for Scottish women's football because of what's on offer prize-wise at the end of this. Look, if Celtic managed to beat, and I'm glad that you had to say the name because I've been trying to say Poltava over the two legs, it's worth about €500,000 to Celtic as a club. But in terms of solidarity payments, that starts to flow into Scottish women's football, and that's massive. I think they've had quite a kind draw so far. They played cups and Gintra in the first round, and it was a Noonan hat trick that got them through that first game. And then they've got the Ukrainian team, which, to be honest, I don't know too much about, but I think there were worse draws that they could have had. I think this is a massive opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. They came through the game last night against Montrose relatively unscathed. They made 9 changes. Pretty straightforward first half, not so straightforward second half. And if you've not watched the interview with our friend Elena Sidiku, then I'd suggest you would, because I've never seen the manager so puzzled by a second half performance in my life. But that happens when you've got one eye on a massive fixture. So, look, if you were to ask me what I think will happen, I think the quality that Celtic do have throughout the team, I think they should progress through this round. I think probably it's more of a mentality thing that's going to halt them from doing so rather than anything else. But they've got the game on Sunday, the second leg on the 26th, and the draw for the group stages are made on the 27th. And I think regardless of who you support, I think you should all be behind a team in Scotland trying to make those group stages of the Women's Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. We wish Celtic all the best in Europe. That is all we've got time for this podcast. Many thanks to Gemma Fay and to Sean Hamilton. And thank you very much for listening as well. Remember, you can hear Motherwell against Dundee United on Sportsound on Radio Scotland from 6 o'clock this evening. As ever, Sportsound will have all the live action across the weekend, and Sportscene will bring you the Premiership and SWPL highlights on Saturday and Monday evenings. And we'll be here with the Scottish Football Podcast every day. So, to be alerted when new episodes are out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have your push notifications turned on in your phone. Enjoy your football wherever you are this weekend. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.